Welcome to Worship Talk. My name is James, and today I have Eli with me, a very good friend. And if you've seen Tech Talk, you know that Eli asks me questions. This is my chance to ask him questions and put him on the spot. How are you doing, Eli?
Scared because I'm usually in the other side of the screen, and I mean not physically, but in the other side, like where I ask you questions. But now I will be asked. But I'm good. I'm excited. I'm really
Yes.
excited about this.
And I just want to say, Eli is a good friend of mine. We've known each other for several years. He's a pastor, he's a worship leader, and he's also a YouTube sensation in the making.
I'm a superstar. I went
Absolutely.
to UI to get trained for being a YouTuber.
Yeah, same here.
University of YouTube.
UIT. I've been there too. I have my degree.
UYT. That's the one.
So, with everything that's been taking place around us, uh, with COVID-19 and, worship spaces having to close here in Ontario, and then now we're being told we can slowly reopen, things have really changed for us overall. And, the question that is on everybody's mind is like, how are things going to come back to normal? And so I guess going into that train of thought, I have some questions for you. And the first one is, how has the pandemic affected leading worship within your circle?
Okay, within my circle, it has been like ups and downs. A lot of people is pre-recording worship in different settings. I've been leading worship in my church and also live on another churches and visited some churches who are in need of people to guide them a little bit more about how to do it. So there's two ways to do it. A lot of people is doing pre-production. A lot of people is doing post-production. But how this affected me directly, it has been really, number one, financially hard. Some people have lost their jobs because of financial hardships in churches. And this is myself. So I used to be the worship pastor in my local church in my area. And because of the lack of finances, because the churches were not ready, and I'm not talking just about my church, worldwide, we're not ready with online giving or giving by texting and those kind of things. So our finances were really hard affected. And I know by default, I don't know anybody else who have lost their job as a worship pastor, but I know that it has been really hard for churches to adapt into this. So, but at the same time, I believe that it's hard to get connected with people because nothing is the same. But in two ways, it has been hard for a lot of people to adapt to the pre-production or to the live stream or to the post-production, because there's a lot of ways to do it. And how my circle has been affected in this regard is just like not being easy.
And, I can say to you that I've heard a number of churches just say the same thing, echo the same thing, that, we just don't have the same, donations that are coming in anymore. And, to the point that it's affecting people, mentally as well, not just to say, well, we are not meeting and then that's it, we just stay home. No, it's that all of that interaction that we had, all of the face-to-face, all of the handshaking, all of the hugs that we would give each other, all of the jokes that we would tell face-to-face, it's gone. And we're just kind of like struggling to just, grasp this new normal. And, we spend more time on phone calls, more time on Zoom or Skype or FaceTime or whatever it is that we do to try and communicate. Churches are using maybe Zoom platforms and so on. And live streaming, but still, we're still missing that connection. I mean, we have some connection. We are still reaching out, but that handshake, that hug that we haven't done for like 3 months. Yeah, I see. I can say yes, absolutely.
Yes, it's really hard because especially with singers and musicians and everybody involved in my area of worship and arts ministry, I'm talking about audio, video, singing, all the things behind the scenes for a Sunday morning service are not the same because simple as it is, we cannot get together. Also, depending on the restrictions in your location, and I'm talking about not just in Canada, in the States, also in Latin America, there's a lot of restrictions, but the government right now is allowing churches in Ontario to reopen in certain areas by stages. In my area, in the Barrie, Huronia, in Simcoe County district, we are allowed to open, but we're not allowed to have more than one singer on the stage, because when you sing, you just like release saliva, and that mist can bring the virus to someone else if you have it, or you can get it. Number one, just one singer on the stage, and also people is not allowed to sing, and if they sing, they have to sing with a mask. So it's really hard. I've seen churches is trying to adapt to these things, and not just financially. Like in my church, the finances dropped like 80%, and now they are recouping. I went to another church with a pastor, and he said that they are doing really well. By the way, they are trying to hire someone, and that was my interview with them in the past week, that we were trying to see if I was the right person or not, but still they were talking about it. But in the financial world, it has been really hard. But when you're in the stage and trying to come back, it's really hard physically, as you said, the handshake, the hugs, because we're really emotional. Singers and musicians, we love our musicians and our singers and our teams. We're like a family. And how come you're not gonna come to a meeting and hug and kiss and high five and everything else with your family? And I think that that's one of the oddest problems. And another problem that you have is when you have a building not full or completely empty, you have to really concentrate in one specific spot and try to do an interaction with the camera, or an interaction with no one in the building where you are leading worship. So it has been emotionally, musically, and financially hard in my area just to accommodate to these changes.
Yeah. So there are changes that have been made and changes that you have made. And so really, I guess at that point, at least on my next question is, how has technology helped you transition to where you are today?
Uh, Number one, I love technology. Um, I really enjoy getting to learn new things. And for me personally, I call this season a season of new beginnings, because I started my YouTube channel.
Mm.
I have a lot of friends in like James introduced me before. The kind of friendship that I have with James started just as a professional way, but then we have a lot of things in common, like eating ethnic foods. Of course, he's married with a beautiful Filipino woman, and he's an amazing Canadian guy. I'm Latino. I'm from Central America, and that was one of the things that we really enjoyed, trying ethnic foods, and we have tried so many things. But James has been one of those people who encouraged me and supported me in a lot of ways with his prayers, but also with good advices in a lot of stages in my life. And one of the things that James always told me is just like, you have something good to say. And he always encouraged me, hey, open your YouTube channel. I will watch you. And I'm like, oh, I have one fan. But right now, I've been really encouraged in this pandemic, and we will leave the link on the comments section below, or in the description below, my YouTube channel. And I've been doing it in Spanish, but recently, because James has encouraged me a lot, and you have a lot of insecurities, but this pandemic has given to me the air, or the perception of like, I can start something new. So if you're in this pandemic and you have nothing to do during the week, seriously, you have something to say. You learn something new every single day with your family, with your friends, through online. Just start something and allow God to use this to bless you organically. So I started my YouTube channel, and also I learned new skills. I've been working with my church regarding video announcements in the past 2, 3 years, and it has been a really good experience. But right now that I'm handling my own YouTube channel, that I'm learning new skills, I have to purchase new softwares, new equipment that I have to learn how to use, how to shut the angles, lighting systems, and all this stuff. So it's a really exciting opportunity that God is placing in my hands, and He's putting me physically to encourage other people through the Word of God, and also through singing, through tech talk, through right now worship talk. And this is a huge benefit. So the technology is giving us the stage for us to share and to touch a lot of people. Don't get limited, and don't limit yourself just because you cannot go to church anymore. Listen, we're touching lives. Just as a testimony, I was checking today my comments. Last night I was posting my new videos, and I reduced my videos to 5 minutes, and I have it in English and I have it in Spanish, and I have a reply from New Zealand. So I was heard from New Zealand. You don't know the potential you have when God is bringing difficulties in your life, like the life of Job. And that's what I was talking in my latest video at this point when you're watching this video, that God is allowing opportunities for you to try something new. Don't lay in the couch all day long. Don't watch TV or play video games all day long. Just allow God to start something new, learn new skills. Like in my case, I'm a Mac user, and I'm using Final Cut Pro X, and it's hard to use, but that's what I'm trying to do. Just trying to learn new skills, because these skills God will use in the near future, or in the future, just as it is, to bless so many people. So that's what I've been doing. I've been starting my YouTube channels 4 weeks, 3 weeks ago. Even more, like 2 months ago, trying to get to know the cameras, lighting, angles, and all the stuff. And I'm learning new skills for audio and video.
And I've been finding a lot of the people I've been talking to within churches, as they're saying, we want to live stream, or we want to improve our live stream. A lot of them at this point are going through the same thing. They're all learning at this point. They're learning new technologies. They're learning how to do video productions where they weren't before. Even just learning how do I connect to YouTube and send a stream up, or Facebook or whatnot. So there's a lot of people that are in the same position. And so this is a tremendous opportunity. We've heard it before, but it is true. Sometimes when a door closes, God opens another one.
Yes.
And we just need to embrace it. I mean, when you look at the different things that happened to Abraham, oftentimes when you read a passage, it says that he obeyed, and he was basically credited for his obedience, and that's all that we should do. And when it's obedience, it's not in the sense of, here, there's a whip cracking on you and you have to do something. No, it's a matter of something is being prepared for you, something is being placed for you, and it's being shown to you, and it's going in that direction. And sometimes, even though we're afraid, we need to just take that step of faith and go in there. And as we do it, we see so much more than what we thought was possible.
Yes, and now that you mention Abraham, it's really easy to see the path and just to try to find an easy path where you see everything green and you see the abundance on one side, and then you see the dry land and the hard work you have to do. Sometimes you have to make a decision not based on what is going to be easy, but you have to make decisions on what God is guiding you, as Abraham, because it's easy to complain. It's easy to cry and say, God, why I lost my job. I enjoy, and I'm still in this community, and because we love the people in everything. We're really well connected still with my old church, or the church that I was working with. We love everyone. It was an amazing experience, and still we have really good friends that we will get connected all the time. But also, you have to see what are the opportunities that God is opening as Abraham. You are in love of something maybe that you don't have to do anymore, and God will open. And remember, when God calls you, He provides you, and that's what I'm trying to see. I'm not trying to be over positive in like your best day is waiting for you tomorrow in a second. No, I'm not just trying to preach any kind of wacky gospel where everything goes right. No. Things happen. Bad things happen to good people, and that's what the Bible says also. Is through all the Bible with all the people from the Old and New Testament. But the thing is this: what are you gonna get out of these situations is more important. Is our attitude. And I think that, as you mentioned it, Abraham had maybe not the right attitude, but he has the right heart to allow God to guide him to, should I go right? Should I go left? And that's something that you have to allow. Learn new skills. Seriously, try your YouTube channel. And in the YouTube world, consistency is what is important. And if you do one video every week, try to learn new skills. You simply don't need that much resources. You just need your cell phone, and that's all. Record everything and post it online and see what God can do with just pieces of bread and a pieces of fish in your hands.
And just remember that when Jesus sent out the disciples, when he did, he said to them, don't bring anything with you. I mean, just leave it all behind.
Yeah.
Nothing. Bring nothing with you. Because when God does send you out, he sends you out as you are with what you've got. And just use what you have. Don't think that you need anything more. He'll provide what you need.
Yes.
So I guess going from that, some people still might be wondering, how can I, be ready? How can, what should I be thinking of? And really, it brings me to the next question: is what advice would you give to someone preparing for the returning to their worship spaces in this new normal?
I've been talking with a lot of people regarding this specific question, and everything is connected. All the questions that you have asked me are connected to this main question. As you said, what should I be doing or preparing to return to the worship places? And I will be honest. And first thing that I will say, get ready to adapt. Reality, nothing will ever be the same. I did a test. A friend of mine in California, he's an itinerant ministry. He has a couple CDs in music, really good music, and he goes to other churches, and also he's servicing his local church. And he's like, I'm excited to come back to churches because right now they're going to be opening again, and I will have my agenda fulfilled again and all the stuff. And I said to him, I don't want to be the fly in your soup, but churches are not going to come back to be the same, and you have to adapt. Simple test. I did it with myself. I asked my wife, it's still when the churches were not opening. They open the church tomorrow. Think and ask yourself about this question. Churches are opening tomorrow. You have 3 kids below 10 years old, and you have 2 elders over 65 in your house. Will the 7 of you go to church that Sunday? Reality is no. So you have to be ready to adapt to the difficulties and the things that are happening. Churches will never be the same. One of the churches in the local area from my denomination, they have 2 services, and they are just allowed to have up to the 30% of the maximum capacity of the building. And they have one service at 9 a.m. and the other one until 11, and the services last for 1 hour. And in between the services, they have a gap of 1 hour, and they guide the people to go out, and they bring special equipment and liquids to disinfect the whole building, the sanctuary, to allow people to come back. So remember, nothing will be the same. Another thing that I will that I will say to you is think out of the box. Consider training and practicing through online platforms. Jamie is an expert on those kind of things. He taught me how to use, by example, Zoom. We're using a lot of technology behind this. Try to find ways to connect with your teams, with your church, in everything that is available for you to bless someone else. James taught me two main applications that I want to share with you really quick. The number one is called Reef Station. Reef Station is an application that you can use and play one song, and Reef Station will literally give you the timing and will give you all the progressions and the chords for that specific song that you can play along. And the other one that he taught me, and I love this one especially, is called Jam Kasam. It's basically a social video and audio media for musicians. It's the Facebook of the musicians, where you put your profile, your level of expertise, the instruments, and the things that you do. And right now, Jam Kasam is sending emails to everyone. Are you a professional musician? We can pay you up to certain amount of money if you play with us, and you're gonna be live streaming and this and that. You can use Jam Kasam. We're gonna leave those apps links on the description below for you to reach out to those apps. And Jamkasam is one of the main ones that you need to use, an audio interface, a microphone, headphones, and the latency for the playing. We tried it with James a couple times, and it's not bad at all. Everything is on time, and you're playing live with your band. You can use it for certain things. Number one, to practice and record your worship set, or just to have fun and jam with your friends, with your worship teams, and everybody else. And the other thing that I can tell you is be aware of your volunteers' response. Consider their families and concerns about safety. If your people, your volunteers, doesn't want to come to your church to practice or to come and sing on Sunday morning, you have to find alternatives. There's a lot of applications, a lot of websites. The websites that I use for buying tracks, of course, I'm a music producer. I don't like to buy tracks, not because they're expensive, but yes, they're kind of expensive, in between $60 and $100 for buying the split tracks, where they will give you all the instruments, drums, and all the instruments that you're missing on your worship set. But you can use multitracks.com, and that's where you can buy some tracks. But also, I use my own sequencers and music production stations, and I produce my own music with my instruments because I'm a music producer. And those are options that you have to. So if your volunteers doesn't want to come, you have to understand. Don't cut it off. I don't want to say discriminate, but at a certain point, if you're a worship leader and you're single, be understandable for those like me who are married and we have kids and we're thinking on the safety. So in that regards, get ready. About adapting, get ready to adapt to your needs, not just on your church and your worship teams, but your audio and video production team too.
And that goes with, the worship band and the choir and all of the members that are leading worship. And it also goes with the personnel who are operating the systems and operating the lights and operating any video components and so on, as well as even some of the support staff, support to pastoral staff. Be concerned about that, because they have families as well too, and maybe the 17-year-old that was coming in faithfully to operate equipment because his parents were bringing him in,
Yes.
may not be able to be there because of the grandparents and the young children that might also be in the same household. And it may mean that you might lose that person for a period of time until such time that people feel safe to come back.
Yes.
Things are really changing, definitely changing.
And we as church leaders, in my case as a pastor, but also as a worship leader, I have to adapt and just make sure that you communicate with everybody. That's the main thing. That's the reason why I said all these questions are really important. And let me just resume everything that I answered to James. Number one, the reason why my church has to let me go is because my area didn't exist anymore. Churches are closed. We have a 35, 40 people choir. We cannot get a choir on a stage anymore. We cannot come to the building and have more than 5 people at that time in the building practicing in anything else. So it was really hard. But at the same time, God is presenting these situations against me to give me opportunities to start something new. Think about all those things. And remember, what you see, what you feel, what you are living is not just you. It's everyone. It's all the churches. It doesn't matter your size, 1,000, 10 thousands of people, or 5, 10, 15 small groups and everything. You cannot be the same. Adapt to the changes. And remember this, God is in control. And God has a plan for us. God is allowing. This is not coming from God, because this is our own mistakes, our own faults, doing things that we were not supposed to do. And here we are. Don't blame yourself. Don't blame anybody else. Just adapt to the changes. And let's try to serve our churches and our communities the best way possible. Keeping the mindset of, oh, I miss everybody. Oh, soon we're going to come back to be the same in the churches. We're going to see. As long as you keep that mentality, you won't be able to find new ideas and new ways to serve your people. And I don't want to be, uh, again, the fly in your soup. But the truth is, the gospel was preached to the whole world until persecution was coming. Remember, Jesus died, he resurrected, he was revealed again, resurrected to the disciples and everything else, and he left. And then they were happy. Then the revival was coming into their area, but it was still just Jerusalem. And it was now not until the persecution came where they have to adapt, and they ran away for their lives. And in our cases, we ran away to hide because of the pandemic worldwide. But the gospel has to split everywhere. And that's the reason why we have the gospel today, because the disciples were willing to learn in the midst of the difficulties and adapt. And that's why we have the word of God and the gospel where we are, not just in Israel or in Jerusalem, it's everywhere right now. So remember, try to adapt to the changes, because the disciples can go to their homes right in the persecution and hide in tunnels and bunkers under the ground and everything, and the gospel will never reach anybody else. And then we're dead. No, the disciples were able to change their mindsets. When you go to your prayer time, ask God, God, help me. Open your heart, open your mind, and allow God to listen to people like James, to people like me, and a lot of tons of people on the media telling you, get ready, because God is going to bring something. I remember um, that we have been praying for so long, not one, not 5, not 10, not 20, for a revival. Listen, a revival is when the people comes to God and surrender their lives, and there's a changing in their lives, in their kids, in their marriages, in their communities, our cities, our provinces, and our countries. This is the revival that God is putting in our hands. Let's open our hearts and allow God to use these situations to change our mentality, to adapt to the changes, and use technology to reach those who need to know about Him.
Yeah, because we certainly can't do it within the buildings anymore. And,
Yes.
traditional outreach that needs to adapt and needs to expand. And so, whatever that, uh, you know, we've been looking at as previous outreach, it has been things like, uh, audio recordings that were distributed, or video recordings that were distributed, or maybe podcasts. Maybe it was television and radio broadcast. I mean, now the big one is live streaming, or uploading, pre-recording and uploading onto social media platforms. The thing is that we have adapted, and we need to continue to adapt and embrace these next levels, because without it, the sheep that were gathered into into the space, if you can say that, are now dispersed. But, we still need to keep in touch. We still need to reach out. We still need to stay connected. And this is the new norm. Eli, I want to say thank you very much. It's been a pleasure as always. And I want to ask everybody, if you have questions, leave your questions and comments below so that we can respond to them, and also use it for future topics on future episodes. So with that, I say, Eli, again, thank you very much. And I'm looking forward to the next one.
Thank you for having me, James, and thank you for tuning in to us today.
Thank you.